right, it is the WMAY morning news feed and live in studio. I'm Greg Bishop, 841, and State Representative Tim Butler is joining us. Representative, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
When do you cut it off?
I think you're spot on. If you've talked to somebody and you greeted them that way, that's it. And then you get about 2 weeks, and after about 2 weeks, it gets a little goofy.
Right. Well, yeah, if it's like February 1st, or if it's Groundhog Day, and you're saying Happy New Year or something.
I agree with you.
Maybe you guys can pass a resolution.
We can. Hey, that's not a bad idea. Yeah.
So January 1st came about, and something that you helped get implemented became law. What happened?
Yeah, this is something we worked on several years ago where, we actually, here in Illinois, we have 7,000 plus levels of government in Illinois. One of the small things that we've taken a step forward in eliminating levels of government was that as of January 1, the Sangamon County Township Collectors are no longer in existence. And really the township collectors were an antiquated entity used to be in each township. I think we had about 15 of them left that really served the same purpose as the county treasurer's office, to be honest with you. And this was really something that Tom Cavanaugh championed when he was treasurer. And in 2017, we passed a law that said as of January 1st, 2022, the Sangamon County Township Collectors will cease to exist, and the functions go into the treasurer's office. And so, we talk a lot about eliminating levels of government, but I'm proud to say I'm actually a legislator that has done that. It's not a huge difference, but certainly that's where we start on trying to consolidate government on something like that. That's an antiquated, duplicative office.
How do you go about eating an elephant? One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. One bite at a time. And this was something that came out of the Sangamon County Citizen Sufficiency Commission, one of their recommendations, and it was a good thing to do. So I think there's only about 3 or 4 counties left in Illinois that still have township collectors.
Pretty incredible. We're talking with State Representative Tim Butler here on the WMAY morning news feed. So I was off Thursday. I did the radio show, but I was off of news duties. And then all of a sudden, it was bam, 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 news item after news item hits. One of them being the maps, the legislative maps. The judges, the 3-judge panel in federal court sided with Democrats. Lay it out for us. What does it mean for voters out there?
Yeah, we're tremendously disappointed in this decision from the panel. The House and Senate Republicans went to court. The Mexican American Legal Defense and Education Fund went to court. The NAACP went to court. We all went to court with similar claims under Section 2 voting rights violations, basically minority representation violations in the maps. And we believe that we had a really strong case, and so did Maldoff and the NAACP. But unfortunately, a 3-judge panel did not see it that way. I think, in my opinion, that was a mistake. I think we gave some pretty clear evidence where the Democrat passed maps violated Section 2, where they actually cracked African-American voters in the Metro East area, where they literally took Latino populations in parts of Chicago and benefited white progressive members of the caucus by adding by changing around the boundaries like that. So I think it was I think it was a bad decision in my opinion. Unfortunately, this is where we're at now. The maps, unless someone appeals, I think, to the U.S. Supreme Court, the maps will stick as is, gerrymandered drawn maps, as we've talked about many times over the last year. And I would say it's one of the most disappointing things I've seen since I've been in the legislature, because I think we really had a strong case. And I'm really stunned that the 3-judge panel actually went with this decision.
Do we have any indication somebody from one of these groups, even the Republican?
I haven't. Obviously, it was heading into the holiday weekend. We anticipated this decision earlier in the month, and we all were wondering why it hadn't been made. That's the other reason. I mean, the oral arguments were a few weeks ago, and it took them several weeks to issue the opinion, which held up the maps. So I don't know. We obviously the legislature comes back in session this week. We'll be having caucuses on the House Republican side. This will be a large part of the discussion, I'm sure. But I haven't heard of yet anybody that would appeal it. I don't know what the time frame is for that exactly, but certainly I think that's going to be something we'll be discussing to see what the possibility of that would be.
Talking with State Representative Tim Butler here on the WMAY morning news feed. And as you mentioned, the legislature's coming back. We talked several months ago about what to expect for a truncated legislative session. You guys are going to be in until April 8th. Of course, got the June primary right after that. But Senate President Don Harmon says, they're really going to focus on getting in and out with an aggressive agenda, focusing on the budget, and they want to be able to free up the space for construction to come in,
Right.
because there's going to be some substantial construction projects after session. It didn't really indicate it was about politics at all. But interesting. It is an election year, so how that plays into it, we shall see. But we're already being impacted by COVID. You guys were going to be in 3 days this week. Now it's only one, and possibly next week's going to be canceled.
Yeah, this is what I anticipated even really before the surge that we've seen over the last few weeks, is that I don't think the Democrats have any real appetite for being in Springfield much, unfortunately. So we will come into session on Wednesday. My guess is we will pass a rule that extends the ability to remote legislate, which allows legislators to vote from anywhere in the world, which I think is a wrong-headed decision. And then I think you're going to see probably several weeks of virtual hearings. That's something that we put into the rules. The committees can meet virtually. That's something that's currently in the rules, will continue to be. And I think you're going to see that over the next several weeks. I would not be surprised, in my opinion, if we're not in, except for this one day in January, and then come back in February. It just usually, at the beginning of a session, it's heavy on committees because you have to move bills through the process. Either bills that have been referred to committee or newly introduced bills have to move through the committee process, and we kind of line that up and then work on floor action. So, there's really not a lot to do early on because we don't have a lot of floor action. But usually it's the case where we're in Springfield in committees. But obviously the Democrats have decided they can do this all virtually, and I don't think we're going to be around town very much in January at all.
What do you foresee happening other than focusing on the budget?
Yeah.
And as somebody who's in the minority party, what kind of noise can you guys make to raise important issues on?
Well, certainly the budget is always paramount every year. And with a large influx of federal money this year, or this past year, the current fiscal year, it'll be interesting to see how the Democrats try to tape this budget together. I know I've heard a lot of discussion about the fact that they're going to try to get a budget done early this year. But I think they're going to have another issue with the fact that you're not going to see as much federal money coming down the pike, and see how they put that together. I think beyond that, I think the Democrats really are very concerned about some of this legislation they've passed. I think the Safety Act, this supposedly called Safety Act, which really took a direct assault upon our police officers, that was passed a year ago. Before it's really even enacted, you've seen the problems that it's going to create. We see police officers leaving the state of Illinois. We see the crime that's running rampant. I mean, everybody knows what's going on when it comes to crime, especially in Chicago, but even downstate. And I think the Democrats going into an election year are very concerned that they voted for a lot of this stuff. And they're going to be responsible for this at the ballot box when people are going to be rightly concerned across the state about public safety. That is going to be a top issue for the election this year, not just in Illinois but across the country. And what the Democrats have done has made our state more dangerous, very honestly.
State Representative Tim Butler here on the WMAY morning news feed. And finally here, Governor J.B. Pritzker is going to be holding a news conference this afternoon to talk about the COVID-19 surge. Before New Year's, he put out a joint statement with some hospital leaders urging them to hold off on elective medical procedures to ensure that there's capacity for any influx of COVID-19 cases. Do you have any indication about, other than just talking, hey, COVID-19 surge, do you have any indication of what the governor could implement?
I really don't. Obviously, we've seen what the governor has done previously, and the idea of stepping back, I think, is really, I think a lot of people don't want to see us take steps back, whether it's in the healthcare arena. There's documented cases from people putting off procedures and then having serious health problems after that the last time. But for me, it's listening to the healthcare professionals. What do the folks at Memorial and what do the folks at St. John's have to say? I realize they're stretched thin. They've been stretched thin for a long time. But putting off elective procedures certainly impacts the healthcare of our state as well. And I hope that's not the direction that the governor is going. Beyond that, the economy continues to be an issue, and we can't peel back where we were before. We can't be shutting things down. I realize that people that there's this huge surge. But you know what? People need to go out and get vaccinated. That's what they need to do. They need to take it upon themselves to go out and get vaccinated, get boosted, and make our citizens safe by doing that. And I think that would be the best thing to do. But I certainly can't imagine where the governor, I hope, is not peeling back and putting more restrictions in place.
Should we see other jurisdictions do what Cook County and Chicago have done when it comes to requiring vaccine proof to go into a restaurant, bar, or any other establishment?
Look,
like that?
I've been to places where I've had to show my vaccine card. I don't have a problem with it. I think that's up to local municipalities on how they want to do that. If the mayor of Springfield would like to implement that, which I don't think he does, then that's up to them. But I again, this gets to the economy of it as well, is that you're scaring people away by implementing those things like that, and you're going to see continued problems with our economy because of it.
State Representative Tim Butler, always appreciate you being in studio.
Absolutely.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, there you go. It is the WMAY morning news feed now, 8:51, and your forecast today, a high of 28, but the wind chill is going to make it feel in the single digits, possibly even -3. Mostly clear tonight, the low of 22, into Tuesday, increasing clouds, the high near 40, but Wednesday, the high around 20 with single digits in the afternoon hours. Into Thursday, got a chance of snow with mostly cloudy skies, the high of 14. Right now, it's 8 degrees. Stay informed, stay connected on WMAY. It's 8:52 from Culver's West on Wabash.
Butterburgers and fresh frozen custard, handcrafted for you daily at Culver's West on